Well, I'm quite sure, you know, if Todd Martin had won the toss, he would have elected to serve. His first serve percentage, as fact, has been very good, Todd Martin. 2/3 of them going in, 65%. That's about 10% better than Agassi's achieved. But then he's only 5'11". Todd Martin's 6'6".
One double fault each. There's Higueras on the left, who's his long-time friend and helps coach. His main coach on the right there, in the brown hat. Dean Goldfine's his name.
Well, this is good tactics by Todd Martin, and a beautiful volley where he, like a sponge, he sucks in the pace of the shot. Good hands on the racket there. You see it sliding under the ball slightly, give control. Perfect attempt to pass there by Agassi. The wrist not so flexible on the forehand volley, particularly if you get it a bit late.
Ooh, a bit lucky to get away with that, but that's the sort of service game that Martin would wanted, of course, to have opened the match with. Instead, he dropped his serve. This time, that was better.
Well, you know exactly what I'm trying to say. So there's the summary. 56% for Agassi is not really good enough. One ace, but he doesn't serve all that many. One double fault. Not an awful lot to tell us. The unforced errors for Todd Martin have been 12, 7 for Agassi. It's usually a fairly important statistic. Backhand winners, 4 for each man. Unforced errors by Agassi, 7. These are objective, though, the unforced errors. I mean, in a match like this, most of the errors are forced in one way or another, either mentally or geographically. Agassi, first time he's been behind in a set, love 1.
Right in the line. Now, a couple more points like that, and he's going to start to believe he can win this match. And Agassi might just become a little cautious. You never know.
That was 120 mph. Just every now and then, Agassi unleashes one a bit faster, keep the opponent guessing. His fastest has been 124. Todd Martin 127.
He's made too many mistakes, has Martin, on that two-hander. It's usually a very solid shot for him, but Agassi's been feeding it with all sorts of different spins, hitting wide. One game all, second set. Agassi leads by 1 set to love. Todd Martin's been saying of Goldfinder's coach that he's been the most patient of friends through the years, put up with all sorts of times when Martin didn't really seem to be responding to what he was saying. He's got enormous respect for him and for Higueras, who's one of the USTA coaches, not full-time, but it's more friendship he has with Higueras. That's why he's up there. Wonderful rhythm on that serve. He's beginning to settle to that. It won't do his confidence a lot of good that Agassi snapped back. They don't return serves much better than that. They really meant that. Martin's 2-1. Second set. Agassi's 1 set to love.
It's not better, really, because Agassi, it seems to be pretty well immaterial whether it's on the forehand or the backhand. It's well chronicled that Connors had a magnificent backhand, and some people said a weak forehand. I didn't think it was weak. I just think comparatively, because his backhand was immense and his forehand, he quite often sort of dragged forehands deep and then went to the net to volley. Connors was amazing with that little tiny silver metal racket that he used to use. That was a factor. How he got it in the middle all the time, I really don't know. But Agassi, I think, is the best in the world at it. Well, Agassi had to take a bit of a risk here to hammer it somewhere because this enormous man was blanketing the net. Had to rely on hitting it very hard and getting an error.
He's trying to get in, and he's not having a lot of success in this game. I'm sure the idea is the right one.
Yeah, but there's not much point in going to the net unless you're very secure on the approach shot. That is the prerequisite.
That was a quick serve. That's 2 games all. No break yet in the second set. And Agassi quite restrained, nothing flamboyant at all.
Well, here's a graphic coming up that they haven't showed us before. This is showing where the first serves are being hit by the server, and you can see from that in the deuce court, the left court. Goodbye graphic. Just had time to see that Todd Martin was serving most of his first serves from this court down the middle, 64%.
I don't think he's won too many points, but he's just stood back and been prepared to trade shots for the baseline with Agassi. That was an important encouragement, I think, for Martin.
Yes, he hit the ball well here.
That's where his lack of flexibility shows. Bit wooden.
Yes, he hasn't got that touch. I wouldn't say he's the man with the softest hands in the game.
Dependable, solid, typical of the man. Martin leads 3-2 in the second set. Agassi by 1 set to love. I always think you can often judge a player, even if you haven't met him, by watching him play tennis. They almost undress themselves in terms of their temperament on court, in public. Don't think I'd like that very much. Todd Martin is such a palpably decent human being that I've thought any opponent will find it quite difficult to get sort of to hate him a little bit. I don't mean that too literally, you know what I mean? And certainly that would be so for Agassi.
Yes, I think I agree with you. And I think also that, well, never mind, it's too deep a thing to discuss, but players tend to play with their country's personalities as well. You know, you think of the French and their flair. You think of the South Americans and their exuberance and temperament.
Just talking of exuberance, the only time I've ever seen Todd Martin really getting excited on and letting everyone see it was against Rosetsky.